Papa chose the phone lady over us. That's what Raj Singh's 9-year-old daughter said when he divorced her mother for an Instagram model. 2 years later, that phone lady, Maya Varma, disappeared with $34 million of his client's money. The FBI is investigating him for fraud he didn't commit, and his company is being auctioned off in a bankruptcy proceeding. The only bidder willing to touch Singh Architects? His ex-wife, Lena, the woman he called just the engineer while taking credit for her work. The woman he gave $3.5 million to walk away from an $82 million company. The woman who's about to buy his empire for less than what he spent on Maya's jewelry. Karma doesn't always wait. Sometimes it shows up with a bankruptcy lawyer and a 9-year-old who knows exactly who her father really is. Subscribe, because the next few minutes will show you exactly what happens when you trade a partner for a trophy and discover the trophy was a thief. Now let's go back to when Raj Singh thought he had it all. 15 years of marriage. 14 and good. Lena had met Raj at Columbia, both in their mid-20s, both brilliant, both hungry to build something that mattered. He had the vision. She had the engineering degree and the practical mind that turned vision into reality. Singh Architects and Design had been her idea originally. You design it. I'll make sure it stands. They'd started in a Brooklyn apartment with one client and a shared dream. By year 10, they had offices in Manhattan, a staff of 47, and projects across 3 states. Raj's face was on magazine covers. Visionary behind a skyline. The man reshaping American cities. Lena's name appeared in the fine print of permits and engineering reports. She'd never minded. She had their daughter, Priya, 9 years old, brilliant, curious, with Raj's creativity and Lena's focus. She had work she loved. She had a partnership that functioned. Until Raj turned 42 and decided functioning wasn't enough. The fracture started with Maya Varma. Singh Architects had been hired to design a luxury residential tower in Brooklyn. Glass and steel, rooftop gardens, the kind of aspirational living that sold for $4 million per unit. The developer wanted a campaign that screamed lifestyle, so they'd hired Maya, an influencer with 890,000 Instagram followers and a face that photographed like art. The photo shoot was at their office. Maya, in designer everything, posing against architectural models. Raj explaining the philosophy behind his work. Lena had been in a project meeting when she'd heard his laugh through the walls, louder than usual, performing charm. She glanced through the glass partition and seen it. Raj leaning close to Maya, touching her elbow, smiling like he was 25 again. Maya had laughed at something he said, tilting her head in that way women do when they're flirting or pretending to. Lena had gone back to her meeting, told herself it meant nothing. But it hadn't been nothing. Over the next 3 months, Maya became a fixture. She was consulting on a marketing campaign. She attended client dinners. She posted photos of herself at Singh Architects with captions like creative energy with a brilliant at Rajing Designs building construction sparkles. Raj started working late, started dressing differently. More expensive watches, tailored shirts, cologne Lena didn't recognize. Their 9-year-old daughter noticed before Lena said anything. Why doesn't Papa read me stories anymore? Priya had asked one night, curled up with Lena on the couch. He's busy with work, Beta. He's always on his phone. Smiling at it. Priya looked up at her mother with eyes too perceptive for 9. Is Papa happy? The question had broken something in Lena's chest. Because the answer was, yes. He was happy, just not with them. Lena had confronted him on a Tuesday night after Priya was asleep. Who is she? Raj had been working on his laptop at the kitchen island. He looked up, genuinely confused. Who's who? The woman you're texting at midnight. The woman you're buying jewelry for on the company card. Maya. His face had done something complicated. Guilt, defensiveness, irritation at being caught. It's not. Lena, you're being paranoid. I'm being observant. There's a difference. She'd set her phone on the counter, pulled up the company expense reports she still had access to. Cartier, Tiffany, $47,000 in client gifts in 3 months. We don't have clients who wear diamond bracelets, Raj. He'd close his laptop, stood up. You've always been like this. Controlling, checking every expense, questioning every decision. I'm a CFO. That's literally my job. You're my wife. Your job is to trust me. The words had hung there, ugly and revealing. I did trust you, Lena had said quietly. For 15 years. And you're making me regret it. Raj had walked out, slept at the office, came home 2 days later with divorce papers. The divorce had been brutal in its efficiency. Raj had hired the best lawyers in Manhattan, the kind who specialized in protecting wealthy men from gold-digger wives, even when the wife had literally built a fortune alongside him. They'd offered Lena $3.5 million, a clean break, joint custody of Priya, and zero stake in Singh Architects. You'll get the house in Westchester, Raj's lawyer had said, like he was being generous, and sufficient support for Priya's expenses. Mr. Singh is prepared to be very fair. Lena had looked at the settlement papers, at the firm she'd co-founded, now valued at $82 million. At her name, nowhere on the equity distribution. I built half of that company. You were a salaried employee, the lawyer had said smoothly. Mr. Singh holds the founding shares and creative IP. Your contributions, while valued, were operational rather than foundational. Operational, like she was a secretary, like the engineering that kept Raj's vision from collapsing into rubble was just paperwork. Her lawyer, a solo practitioner she could actually afford after Raj froze their joint accounts, had leaned in. We can fight this. Discovery, depositions, valuation experts. It'll take 2 years and cost everything you have, but we can fight. Lena had thought about Priya, about her daughter watching her parents destroy each other in court. I'll take the settlement. Raj's lawyer had smiled. Wise choice. 3 weeks later, Lena had packed her office. 15 years of work in cardboard boxes. Blueprints, prototypes, calculations that had turned Raj's sketches into architecture. She'd done it after hours. Didn't want to see anyone. Didn't want the pity or the whispered speculation. Raj had been at an awards ceremony. Singh Architects had won Firm of the Year. He'd brought Maya as his date. Lena had seen the photos on Instagram at 11 p.m. while packing her desk. Maya in a red dress that cost more than Lena's car. Raj in a tuxedo, arm around her waist, smiling like he'd won the lottery. The caption, the new Mrs. Singh in progress ring. Lena had closed Instagram, closed her laptop, carried her boxes to her car. The next morning, she'd picked up Priya from school early. Are we going to Papa's office? Priya had asked in the car. No, Beta, not anymore. Why? Because Papa and I are going to live in different houses now. But you'll still see him, and we both still love you more than anything. Priya had been quiet for a long time. Then, does Papa love the phone lady more than us? Lena had pulled over, held her daughter while she cried, promised her things she wasn't sure were true, that everything would be okay, that nothing was her fault, that love didn't run out just because people changed. But sitting in that car, watching her daughter's world fracture, Lena had made a promise to herself. She would rebuild. She would show Priya that you don't collapse when someone discards you. You rise. You build something better. And you make damn sure they regret underestimating you. Family, pause here. Have you ever watched someone throw away everything real for something shiny? Have you seen ego destroy what love built? Comment if you know what it feels like to be underestimated by someone who should have known better, because what comes next will show you that revenge is just success with receipts. Ready for Chapter 2? Comment downfall, and I'll show you exactly what happens when a con artist meets a fool with access to millions. 2 years later, Raj Singh was on the cover of Architectural Digest. The headline, Love and Legacy, How Raj Singh Found His Renaissance. The photo, Raj and Maya on the roof deck of their Tribeca penthouse, $8.7 million, floor-to-ceiling windows, the skyline behind them like a crown. Maya in white, Raj in designer casual, both looking like they'd invented happiness. The article gushed about his reinvention, how leaving his stagnant marriage had unlocked new creativity, how Maya's fresh perspective was transforming Singh Architects into a lifestyle brand. There was one paragraph about Lena, Singh's former wife and business partner, who declined to comment for this piece. No mention that she'd engineered every building he'd ever designed. No mention that Singh Architects existed because of her calculations, her permits, her ability to turn his sketches into structures that didn't collapse. Just, former wife. Declined to comment. What the article didn't mention was how the transformation actually worked. Maya had moved into Raj's life like she was redecorating. New furniture, new friends, new routines. She convinced him to give her signing authority on company accounts. Just for marketing expenses, baby. I know branding. You know buildings. We're a team. She convinced him to replace the old CFO. He's stuck in the past. We need someone who understands influencer partnerships and digital presence. She convinced him to take out a $12 million line of credit against the company's assets. Investment in our future. You have to spend money to make money. And Raj, high on the validation of a beautiful woman 20 years younger, calling him a genius, had signed everything she put in front of him. Meanwhile, across town, Lena was building something quieter. Reform Design Labs, a startup focused on sustainable housing for low-income communities. Modular construction, green materials, fair wages for workers. The kind of work Raj used to care about before he started measuring success in magazine covers. Lena had used her $3.5 million settlement as seed capital. Kabir Deshmukh, a veteran real estate investor who'd known Lena since her Columbia days, had added another $8 million when he saw her business plan. You're solving a real problem, Kabir had told her over coffee in her modest Brooklyn office. Raj builds monuments to ego. You're building solutions. That's the difference between architecture and engineering. I just want to do work that matters. It will. Give it time, and a government contract that would change everything. The Smart City bid had been announced 18 months after Raj's divorce from Lena. The Department of Housing and Urban Development was soliciting proposals for a massive redevelopment project, 2,400 units of mixed-income housing across 3 neighborhoods in the Bronx. $340 million contract. Public-private partnership. Emphasis on sustainability, community impact, and affordability. Raj had gone after aggressively. Singh Architects had submitted a proposal full of glass towers and rooftop gardens and community spaces that looked beautiful in renderings but would price out the actual community within 5 years. Lena's Reform Design Labs had submitted a proposal focused on modular construction, local hiring, energy efficiency, and lifetime affordability guarantees. No flash, just math that worked. HUD had shortlisted both firms. Raj had been furious when he'd seen Lena's name on the shortlist. She's using my credibility, he'd told Maya over dinner at a restaurant that charged $200 per person. She wouldn't even have a career without me. Maya had touched his hand, smiled. Baby, you can't let your ex-wife live in your head. You've moved on. You've evolved. Let her have her little charity project. It's not a charity project. It's a $340 million contract, which you're going to win. Because you're Raj Singh. You build legends. She builds what? Affordable housing. Maya had laughed. HUD wants vision. You have that. She has spreadsheets. Raj had relaxed. Ordered another $400 bottle of wine. Convinced himself she was right. HUD had announced the winner 6 weeks later. Singh Architects. The press release had praised Raj's bold vision and commitment to transforming urban landscapes. Raj had celebrated with a gala at the Plaza, $500,000 event, 300 guests, champagne towers, Maya in a dress that cost more than most people's cars. During his speech, slightly drunk on victory and ego, he made a joke to everyone who said we couldn't do it, including my ex-wife who thought affordable housing meant making things cheap instead of making them beautiful. Tonight we proved that vision beats caution every time. The crowd had laughed. Maya had kissed him for the cameras. And Lena, watching the live stream from her office while reviewing proposals for a smaller project in Newark, had closed her laptop and gone home to tuck Priya into bed. Did you win the big project, Mama? Priya had asked sleepily. Not this time, Beta. Are you sad? No. Sometimes losing one thing means you're free to find something better. But what Lena didn't say, what she couldn't explain to a 9-year-old, was that watching Raj mock her publicly had crystallized something. She wasn't going to compete with him anymore. She was going to outlast him. The fraud unraveled the way these things always do, slowly, then all at once. Singh Architects had received the HUD advance payment. $47 million upfront to begin site acquisition and planning. Standard for a project this size. The money had hit the company's escrow account on a Tuesday. By Friday, $8.3 million was gone. The accounting department had noticed first, flagged it to the new CFO, one of Maya's recommendations, a guy named Trevor who had an MBA from school no one had heard of and a resume that looked impressive until you actually checked the references. Trevor had assured everyone it was a reconciliation issue. Wire transfers to approved vendors. Totally normal. Except when the bank called asking about 3 additional transfers, $6.7 million, $9.2 million, and $4.1 million to accounts registered as something called Varma Capital Solutions. Alarm bells finally rang. The board had demanded an emergency audit. The auditors had found a pattern. Over 18 months, $34 million had been moved from Singh Architects' operating accounts, client escrow accounts, and the HUD advance through a web of shell companies, all ultimately controlled by Maya's brother, Vikram Varma. Fake invoices for consulting services, marketing partnerships, brand development initiatives, all authorized by Maya, who had signing authority, all approved by Trevor, who turned out to be Vikram's former roommate, all happening while Raj was busy being photographed at charity events and giving interviews about his renaissance. The investigative journalist who broke the story was named Arjun Kapoor. He'd been digging into real estate fraud for months when an anonymous tip, later revealed to be from a Singh Architects accountant who'd been fired for asking too many questions, led him to Varma Capital Solutions. His article ran on a Thursday morning. Singh Architects under investigation. $34 million in client funds allegedly diverted through shell companies. By noon, Singh Architects stock had dropped 43%. By 3 p.m., the FBI had frozen the company's accounts. By 6 p.m., they'd arrested Vikram Varma at JFK, trying to board a flight to Mumbai. By midnight, Maya was gone. Raj had tried calling her 73 times that first day. Every call went to voicemail. Her Instagram went dark. Her TikTok disappeared. Her apartment, the Tribeca penthouse he'd bought for them, was empty by the time he got there. Doorman said a moving truck had come at 4 a.m. 3 men in uniforms cleared the place out in 90 minutes. She leave a forwarding address? Raj had asked desperately. The doorman had looked at him with pity. No, sir. But she left this. An envelope. Inside, a handwritten note on cream stationery. Thank you for the adventure. Sorry it had to end this way. You really are very talented, just not at reading people. M. Raj had stood in the empty penthouse. $8.7 million of marble and glass that suddenly felt like a tomb, and understood what his daughter had known 2 years ago. He'd chosen wrong. The board had demanded his resignation 48 hours later. The FBI wanted to interview him. Not as a suspect yet, but they were clear that his oversight failures made him a person of interest. HUD revoked the contract immediately, demanded return of the $47 million advance. The company didn't have it. Maya and her brother had taken most of it. Lawsuits started piling up. Clients whose escrow funds had vanished. Investors. Shareholders. Singh Architects, the firm Raj's father had started, that Raj had built into an empire that bore his name on 47 buildings across 3 states, was hemorrhaging money, credibility, and legal exposure simultaneously. Within 6 weeks, bankruptcy was inevitable. The auction was scheduled for a Thursday afternoon. Bankruptcy Court, Southern District of New York. Distressed asset sale. Interested buyers to submit sealed bids. Raj's lawyer had been pessimistic. The fraud taint is severe. Most reputable firms won't touch this. You're looking at vulture funds, maybe a competitor buying the name just to bury it. What about me? Can I bid? With what capital? You're personally liable for $14 million in restitution. Your assets are frozen. You have nothing to bid with. So I just lose everything? The lawyer had closed his briefcase. Mr. Singh, you lost everything the day you gave signing authority to someone you'd known for 6 months. We're just making it official now. The auction room held maybe 30 people. Raj sat in the back with his lawyer, watching strangers discuss the value of his life's work like they were bidding on used furniture. 3 firms had submitted bids. Brookfield Asset Management, Silverstein Properties, and one Raj didn't recognize, Reform Design Labs. His lawyer had leaned in. Reform is tiny. Urban housing startup. They won't have the capital to compete with Brookfield. But when the bids were read, Raj's heart stopped. Brookfield, $4.2 million. Silverstein, $3.9 million. Reform Design Labs, $2.8 million. The lowest bid, but Reform had included something the others hadn't: a community benefit plan, commitment to retain all non-executive staff, continuation of affordable housing initiatives, partnership with the original HUD project under new management. The bankruptcy judge had asked the Reform representative to approach, and Lena Singh had stood up from the second row. Raj hadn't even seen her, hadn't known she was there. She walked to the front of the room in a navy suit, carrying a folder, looking every inch the engineer who'd built his empire while he'd taken the credit. The judge had reviewed her submission. "Ms. Singh, you're aware this is your former husband's company?" "I'm aware, Your Honor. I co-founded it 15 years ago. I know its assets, its liabilities, and its potential better than anyone in this room. And you believe you can operate it successfully despite the reputational damage? I believe the damage was to leadership, not the work. The engineers, architects, and staff who actually produce the projects are still exceptional. Under proper management, the firm can recover." The judge had glanced at Brookfield's lawyer. "Do you wish to counteroffer?" "No, Your Honor. We withdraw our bid." Silverstein had withdrawn seconds later. The judge had looked back at Lena. "Then Reform Design Labs is the winning bidder. $2.8 million for all assets, contracts, and intellectual property of Singh Architects. Pending final approval, you'll take possession in 30 days. The gavel fell, and Raj Singh sat in the back of that courtroom, watching his ex-wife buy his company for less than he'd spent on Maya's engagement ring, and understood exactly what his daughter had meant. He'd chosen the phone lady over them, and she'd chosen to disappear with everything he had, while the woman he'd discarded came back to pick up the pieces. Family. Have you ever watched someone's arrogance become their bankruptcy? Have you seen ego measured in millions lost? Drop a comment if you've witnessed someone trade everything real for something shiny, because what happens next will show whether Raj Singh learns anything or just becomes a cautionary tale with his ex-wife's name on his letterhead. Ready for the final act? Comment justice, and I'll show you what happens when the woman you called just the engineer becomes the architect of your entire future. 30 days after the auction, Lena walked into Singh Architects as its owner. The office was half empty. 23 employees had quit during the bankruptcy. Another 12 had been laid off when the accounts froze. The remaining staff, engineers, junior architects, administrative assistants, looked at her with a mixture of hope and suspicion. She'd called an all-hands meeting for 10 a.m. Raj wasn't invited, but he came anyway. He lost weight. His expensive suits hung looser now. The confidence that used to fill every room he entered had collapsed into something smaller, more desperate. He'd shown up at 9:45 a.m., slipping into the back of the conference room like a ghost haunting his former life. Lena saw him immediately, said nothing, continued reviewing her notes. At exactly 10 a.m., she stood. "I'm Lena Singh. Most of you know me. For those who don't, I co-founded this firm 15 years ago. I left 2 years ago during a divorce. I'm back now as owner and CEO." She clicked to the first slide. "Here's what's changing immediately. First, your jobs are safe. Everyone in this room who wants to stay can stay. Your back pay from the bankruptcy period will be covered within 60 days. Benefits are reinstated immediately." Relief rippled through the room. Second, the name changes. Singh Architects is now Reform Architecture. We're merging with my existing company. New values, new mission, same quality work. A hand went up. Marcus, a senior structural engineer who'd worked with Lena for a decade. "What about the HUD project? We lost that contract. We're reapplying, under new management, with a revised proposal that actually serves the community it's supposed to help." HUD indicated they're willing to reconsider given the circumstances. Another hand. "What about him?" A junior architect tilted her head toward Raj in the back. Lena looked directly at her ex-husband for the first time. "Mr. Singh is no longer employed here. His equity was liquidated in the bankruptcy sale. He has no role in this company's future. Raj stood. Lena, sit down, Raj. I need to talk to you. Privately. No, you need to leave. This is a staff meeting. You're not staff. The room went silent. Everyone watching the confrontation like it was a car accident they couldn't look away from. Raj's voice cracked. I built this company. You almost destroyed it. Lena's voice was calm. Surgical. You gave signing authority to a con artist. You ignored warnings from your accountants. You prioritized magazine covers over management. And 37 people lost their jobs because you were too busy playing celebrity to notice someone was stealing millions. She gestured to the employees around them. These people built this company. The engineers who did the calculations you took credit for. The architects who turned your sketches into actual plans. The administrative staff who kept everything running while you were at galas. You didn't build this alone, Raj. You just convinced yourself you did. And the moment you forgot that, everything fell apart. Raj stood there, visibly shaking. So what happens to me? That's not my problem. You made your choices. Live with them. Lena, please. Leave. Before I call security. He left, shoulders hunched. The man who'd once owned the skyline, walking out like a stranger who'd wandered into the wrong building. Kabir found Lena in her office 2 hours later. She was reviewing the revised HUD proposal, making notes in the margins, doing the work she'd always done, turning vision into reality. That was brutal, Kabir said, leaning against the doorframe. It was necessary. He looked destroyed. He destroyed himself. Lena didn't look up from her notes. I just stopped catching him when he fell. Do you feel better? Now that you've won. Lena set down her pen. Looked at him. I didn't win, Kabir. I survived. There's a difference. You bought his company for less than. I bought a company that was worth $82 million for $2.8 million because he let someone steal it. That's not winning. That's triage. She gestured to the papers on her desk. Now I get to spend the next 2 years rebuilding trust, repairing relationships, and proving that this firm could do good work again. You think that feels like victory? Kabir was quiet. I don't hate Raj, Lena said finally. I hate what he became. The arrogance, the entitlement, the way he treated people like props in his personal narrative. She looked out the window at the Manhattan skyline, buildings Raj had designed, that she'd engineered. He used to care about the work, before the awards and the magazine covers. He used to understand that architecture matters because people live in it. Do you think he remembers that? I don't know. And honestly, it's not my job to fix him. 3 months later, HUD announced that Reform Architecture had been awarded the revised contract for the Bronx redevelopment project. $340 million. 2,400 units. 5-year timeline. The press release specifically mentioned Lena's commitment to community-centered design and transparent accountability. The announcement made the front page of the real estate section in the Times. Raj read it in a coffee shop in Queens. He'd sold the Tribeca penthouse to pay legal fees, moved into a small one-bedroom near his lawyer's office. He stared at the article for a long time, at Lena's photo, at the quote from a HUD official praising her integrity and vision. Vision, the word he'd claimed as his identity, now attached to his ex-wife. His phone buzzed. Text from his lawyer, Maya Varma, spotted in Dubai. Emirati authorities won't extradite. She's untouchable. I'm sorry. Raj put his phone down, stared at his cold coffee. $34 million. That's what Maya had taken. That's what his ego had cost. And she was in Dubai, probably on a yacht, laughing, while he was in Queens, broke, disgraced, watching his ex-wife succeed with the company he'd thrown away. 6 months later, Priya turned 10. Lena threw her a party at their house. The Westchester home Raj had generously given her in the divorce, which now felt less like a consolation prize and more like the only smart decision he'd made in years. 15 kids. Pizza. A magician. Normal 10-year-old chaos. Raj had visitation rights. He'd picked up Priya the day before for their scheduled weekend together. She'd been quiet in the car. Not angry. Just distant. Mama won the big project, she'd finally said. I know. Are you mad? No, Beta. I'm proud of her. Priya had looked at him with those two perceptive eyes. Do you miss us? The question had destroyed him. Every day. Then why did you leave? How do you explain a midlife crisis to a 10-year-old? How do you say, I was terrified of getting old, and a beautiful woman made me feel young, and I convinced myself that feeling was worth more than the family I'd built? I made a mistake, Raj had said quietly. A big one. And I'm sorry. Did the phone lady steal your company? Yes. Good. Priya had turned to look out the window. You picked her. Mama didn't pick anything. She just had to fix what you broke. At 10 years old, his daughter understood more about accountability than he had at 44. Present day. Lena was in her office when her assistant knocked. Someone here to see you. Doesn't have an appointment. Says it's personal. Boo. Raj Singh. Lena sighed. Send him in. Raj entered looking smaller somehow. Humbler. He'd aged 2 years and 6 months. I don't have long, Lena said. I'm meeting with HUD in an hour. I know. I won't take much time. He stayed standing near the door. Didn't presume to sit. I wanted to say I'm sorry. For all of it. For undervaluing you. For taking credit for your work. For choosing ego over everything that mattered. Lena waited. I know sorry doesn't fix anything. I know I destroyed what we built. Both the company and the marriage. I know. His voice broke. I know Priya looks at me differently now. Like she's disappointed. And she should be. Why are you here, Raj? Because I'm trying to figure out what happens next. I can't practice architecture. I'm still under investigation. No firm will hire me. I can't undo what I did. I can't, he stopped. I don't know how to be the person I used to be. Before the awards and the magazine covers. When I actually cared about the work. Lena studied him. You want me to tell you how to rebuild your life? I want to know if it's even possible. She was quiet for a long moment. Then, you know what the difference is between you and me, Raj? What? When everything collapsed, you asked yourself, what happens to me? I asked myself, what happens to the people depending on me? She leaned forward. 37 employees. Our daughter. The clients who trusted us. That's who I thought about. You thought about your reputation. I know. I'm not finished. Her voice was firm, but not cruel. You can rebuild, but not by trying to get back what you had. You rebuild by becoming someone who deserves to have it. How do I do that? Lena opened a folder, pulled out a document, slid it across her desk. There's a nonprofit in the Bronx. They train formerly incarcerated people in construction trades. They need someone to teach basic architectural drafting. It pays $45,000 a year. It's 2 nights a week, 4 hours per session. Raj stared at the paper. You want me to teach? I want you to serve. The way you used to, before you forgot what service meant. You spend 2 years teaching people who society has written off how to build things. You learn humility from people who've lost more than you have and kept going anyway. And then maybe, you'll have earned the right to ask what comes next. She met his eyes. I'm not offering you a job, Raj. I'm offering you a chance to remember why you became an architect in the first place. Take it or don't. But this is the only offer you're getting from me. Raj picked up the document. His hands were shaking. Why are you doing this? Because Priya asked me if you could ever be her papa again. Not the person who left. The person who used to read her bedtime stories and teach her about buildings and care about things that mattered. Lena's voice softened slightly. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it for her. So she doesn't have to grow up thinking her father is just a cautionary tale in a news article. Thank you. Don't thank me. Prove me right. Show up. Do the work. Become someone she can be proud of. She glanced at her watch. I have to go. Close the door on your way out. Raj stood. Started to leave. Stopped at the door. Lena? The company, Reform, it's doing what we always talked about. Before I got caught up in the awards and the recognition. It's doing work that actually matters. I know. I should have listened to you. Yes, you should have. But you didn't. So I'm doing it without you. She picked up her briefcase. Good luck with the teaching position. Try not to disappoint anyone else who believes in you. 1 year later, the Bronx redevelopment project broke ground on a Tuesday morning. 200 people attended. HUD officials, local politicians, community leaders, families who'd be moving into the new housing. Lena stood at the podium with Kabir and her senior team. Priya stood beside her mother, holding the ceremonial shovel, beaming. In the back of the crowd, wearing a simple button-down and jeans, Raj Singh stood with 6 of his students from the nonprofit program. They come to see what architecture looked like when it served people instead of egos. One of them, Marcus, a 24-year-old who'd done 5 years for possession and was now studying drafting, nudged Raj. "That's your ex-wife, right? The one you told us about." "Yeah. She's incredible, man. Built all this from nothing." "Not from nothing," Raj corrected quietly. "From something I threw away. She just had the sense to pick it back up." When Lena gave her speech, she talked about community, sustainability, and accountability. She talked about building things that lasted. She didn't mention Raj. Didn't need to. The buildings would speak for themselves. After the ceremony, as the crowd dispersed, Priya ran over to her father. "Papa, did you see? Mama let me break the ground." "I saw, Beta. You were perfect. Are you proud of her?" "I've never stopped being proud of her." He knelt down to his daughter's eye level. "But more importantly, are you proud of me?" Priya thought about it. "You're teaching people, right? Like Mama said you should." "I am. And you're not on your phone all the time at the phone lady?" "The phone lady's gone. And I'm trying to be better." Priya hugged him. "Then I'm getting there. Not yes. Not unconditional forgiveness. Just getting there." It was more than he deserved, and exactly what he needed to hear. Raj watched his daughter run back to Lena. Watched his ex-wife pick her up, laughing. Watched them stand in front of the empty lot that would become housing for 2,000 families. The architecture that mattered. The work he used to care about before he forgot what the work was for. He'd lost everything trying to feel young, relevant, admired. And the woman he'd discarded had rebuilt the empire with integrity, purpose, and grace. He couldn't undo the damage. Couldn't take back the years. Couldn't erase his daughter's memory of him choosing wrong. But he could show up to teach drafting twice a week. He could do the work that didn't come with awards or recognition. He could become someone who served instead of someone who was served. It wasn't redemption. Not yet. But it was a start. Family, let me leave you with this. Power built on ego collapses the moment someone smarter starts watching your accounts. Love traded for validation disappears the second the money runs out. And the person you underestimate because they're not flashy enough, not exciting enough, not young enough, that person is usually the one holding everything together. This story teaches us that success isn't about magazine covers or Instagram followers or who looks good in photographs. It's about who shows up when everything falls apart, who rebuilds when others run, who serves when others take. Raj lost an $82 million company to a con artist and watched his ex-wife buy it for the price of an engagement ring. But the real loss wasn't the money or the firm. It was the family he sacrificed for someone who saw him as a mark, not a person. Lena didn't win by destroying Raj. She won by building something better without him. That's not revenge. That's evolution. If this story moved you, if it made you think about who you undervalue and what ego actually costs, hit that like button. If you believe in accountability over excuses, in service over status, comment foundations below. And if you want more stories about people who rebuild after being discarded, subscribe. I spend hours crafting these narratives of karmic justice. Every like, comment, and subscription tells me these lessons matter. Remember, the most dangerous person to underestimate is the one who built your empire while you took the credit. They know exactly what you're worth and exactly what you're not. Until next time, family, keep building things that matter. Keep choosing substance over flash. And never forget, foundations crack from ego, not earthquakes. Stay blessed, stay humble, and choose the people who build with you, not the ones who perform for you.